Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be continuing what if Lori survived in The Walking Dead. So let's get into it. So we start off with Daryl, and the war is still going on with the group and also the governor and stuff, and Daryl would shoot his crossbow in the governor's eye, and the governor would lose his eye, but before going down, the governor would shoot his gun in the air to alert his people, and then the governor would fall to the ground injured. The governor has enough power to move, and he would crawl away, and the governor would escape from there, and the group think he's dead. Anyways, Martinez and Milton would both give up, because considering the odds aren't in their favor with the governor not there, they would surrender, and the other Woodbury people as well, because they don't have a leader to lead them. And Lori would smile at Rick, and she'd tell him that the place is safe, and Rick, he would agree, and he'd say that they could stay here, and they could make significant updates to this place, like upgrade this, and we could make a field to grow like food, and they could do a lot of stuff with this, and it has everything that the old world did. So Rick says, and this is the best place to have the group stay and to raise his family. So Rick and the group are gonna stay at Woodbury. Anyways, Tyrese's group, aka Tyrese, Sasha, and also Alan and Ben would arrive at Woodbury. And Axel's the person on lookout, so he'd let them stay because Axel was a nice guy, and he'd make sure to let Rick know about it. Anyways, let's continue. And we would see Rick and also Lori and also Carl, who are going back to King County in Atlanta. And when they get there, they see a lot of defenses everywhere and a lot of distractions to distract walkers. They find a person there. Who's that person? It's Morgan. And first up, the thing is, because of Lori being around, the encounter wouldn't be as much violent, but Carl would still shoot Morgan. And Rick recognizes Morgan, and he sees that he's the guy who saved him in the beginning, where it all started, back in Atlanta, back in King County, where he saved Rick's life, and Rick would help Morgan out, and he'd try to wake Morgan up, and Lori would just say, we don't have to help him. He can help himself, because we know that Lori didn't really care about anyone else in the outbreak except our family. And Carl's just a kid, so he'd want to help Morgan, because obviously Carl was one of the nicest characters in the whole entire Walking Dead. So yeah, in the whole entire series, Carl is in maybe the top 5 nicest characters, and Carl overall was just a good person, but before he got killed in season 8. And Rick would remember something, that he remembers that Morgan had a son, and his son's name was Dwayne, and Rick would wonder, where the hell's Dwayne? And overall, we know what happened to Dwayne, but right now we don't, so yeah. And that's when Morgan would wake up, and he would look at Rick, and then Morgan would rush towards Rick, and he'd attack Rick. But Rick would push Morgan off, and he'd try to make Morgan remember who he is. And Morgan would be much Rick would tie Morgan up, and he'd explain it to him, so Morgan would remember who Rick is again. And after that, Rick would ask Morgan that where the hell's Dwayne, and So, since we're talking about Dwayne here, Morgan would just explain the whole thing that happened of Dwayne getting bitten and stuff, and he'd say he got bitten at the start, and he'd tell that Dwayne's at King County, and Rick would go to King County, and he would tell Lori and Carl to take care of Morgan while he's gone, looking for Dwayne. And Rick would find Morgan's house, and he'd go inside there, and he'd go up to the attic or something. I think that's where they found him in Fear of the Walking Dead, because I don't really remember. And Rick would find a walker in the attic, and it's not just any walker, it's Dwayne's walker. And Rick would kind of be sad to see Dwayne like this, because he knew him and Morgan saved his life. So, yeah, that's why Rick would be sad seeing Dwayne just dead. Anyways, Rick would pull out his gun and a gunshot would fire. Rick shot Dwayne because he didn't want Dwayne to be a walker. So, yeah, Rick would just shoot Dwayne because he knew Dwayne, so it's the best he just puts him down. And we see Carl like back at our Morgan's bases, because Carl's trying to interact with him, and Morgan, he wouldn't really reply back to Carl because he's still pretty broken, and Lori would tell Morgan that he can come along with them and he could live in a place called Woodbury that they live in. And Lori would keep on going on about how great the place is and how Morgan could definitely stay there. But Morgan, he still wouldn't reply, and he would just say, and he'd just make up an angry face again, because we know how Morgan was in season 3. Like, that one episode of him, he was just broken. Like, full broken. Like, there was nothing that Rick could even do. He tried to convince Morgan to come back. Morgan was just mad for some reason. I mean, I know he lost his son, but Morgan was just really broken at that time. And Rick's back, and he'd ask Morgan to come along with them, because Rick wants Morgan to come along with them. But the thing is, Rick can't really convince Morgan. Morgan would just tell Rick to leave him alone, because Morgan's been telling Rick that the whole entire time, but they're not listening. But Rick, he would not leave Morgan here, because he saved his life in the beginning, and now he helped him a lot. He helped him learn about this virus. He helped him learn how to survive. And Rick wants to pay off that favor, and Rick wants to help Morgan now, because Morgan already helped Rick, but now it's Rick's turn to help Morgan. And Rick would not leave Morgan behind, and he would convince Morgan to eventually come after a long time of talking. And afterwards, after Rick is talking Morgan out of it, and Morgan would finally agree, and he'd start packing up his stuff so he can leave. Anyways, all 4 of them, Morgan, Rick, Lori, and Carl, all leave. And, yep, that's going to be it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and bye-bye.